right, welcome to episode number 57 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast. We're recording on March the 1st, 2020. My name is Eric. I'm the host of the show, based in Southern Ontario. I'm a hunter, target shooter, ham radio operator, VE3 EPN, and computer geek. I got into preparedness when I was working frontline emergency services and witnessed an over-reliance on emergency services during events such as ice storms, power outages, etc. I started a small preparedness company to help people get prepared and to be able to better look after themselves for at least 72 hours, if not longer.
Hi there, my name is Ian. I live on Vancouver Island. I'm an outdoor enthusiast, sport shooter, reloader, and my farm is designated handyman.
I'm Alan. My friends and family call me a safety nerd. As a first responder, I see the benefit of preparation over reaction to emergencies. I teach first aid, coach my family and friends to be better prepared. I'm a locksmith by trade and have worked in the physical security industry for more than 20 years now.
And hello from Canada's East Coast. I'm Hugues from Nova Scotia. I'm a Canadian Armed Forces veteran, volunteer firefighter and station chief, and volunteer search and rescue technician and prepper. I've been preaching and living the prepper lifestyle to varying degrees for the last 6 years or so, and this was born out of necessity to ensure the short-term survival of my family, which includes 3 young children.
Hello, my name is Tyler. I'm broadcasting from my 5-acre homestead here in northwestern Wisconsin, USA. Since purchasing my first house, I have been working to transform my property into a self-sufficient homestead with an emphasis on preparedness.
As always, my name is Andrew. I won't be your host this evening, but I am a recovering libertarian, the original host at the original Canadian Patriot podcast, and a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical.
Hey, if you want to help support the show and keep the Canadian Prepper Podcast on the air, you can buy a Canadian Prepper Podcast t-shirt at prepperpodcast.ca. All the proceeds help keep the lights on and keep the backup generator fueled.
All right, if you're enjoying the show, please take a few minutes and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Canadian Prepper Podcast and submit a review on iTunes. Also, we want your feedback, good or bad. Even if there's a topic you want us to cover, you can email us at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca.
Hey, we've got some thrifty content for you in this episode. We're going to start off with some preparedness-related news articles. Next, we're going to be letting you know how we've improved our preparedness since the last episode. Then we're going to get into the main topic of this episode, $500 to spend on getting started. And this episode is started actually by a question that was sent in by a listener. So it started out with the following email. I recently finished your episode with Dr. Joe Alton. The clarification on the N95 masks was great. I'm new to prepping and find your podcast a great resource. With tax season coming up and people potentially receiving a portion of their already earned income back through refunds, end quotes, would the show consider an episode with the following premise. Someone who is new to prepping has $250 to $500 to spend on prepping to get started. How should they spend their money? Obviously, there would be a need to assume a few things such as rural or urban settings, single home, apartment, etc. Keep up the good work, and it's signed off with the initials JN. So with that, we'll move into the news and start with Alan.
So this whole global pandemic thing has been beaten to death, and there are a dozen articles below what I put here. But let's not forget that the EU is also being overrun by Syrian refugees, and they don't have anywhere to put them. So there's an article there. It's if you don't have anywhere to go, you are a refugee. Have a plan and save yourself some heartache. They're being gassed and stun grenaded at the borders to back off, and they're kind of stuck in limbo. Another article. Rather sadly, a snowmobiler fell through the ice in the north part of Southern Ontario. He was local to me. He's in Middlesex County, and he was up there not long ago. Fell through some ice late at night and was recovered the next morning. So, if you're going to go out and have some fun, make sure you do it safely.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I'm supposed to go with a buddy at the very least and, check the depth of the ice and all that stuff first. But actually, that Syrian refugee thing, Alan, wasn't Turkey the one threatening to just open up their borders and send them all into Europe?
Yep, that was exactly the problem. So now they're at the Turkish-Grecian border, and they're being turned back from Greece. So they've made it as far as Turkey and then getting through to Greece, and now they're stuck at the border with Greece and can't go anywhere.
I think there's like 4 million of them, isn't there?
Yep, there's a whole lot of them.
Wow, that's a lot of.
It's a lot of people to try.
For a lot of people to, yeah, man. Yep. The logistics would be insane.
Yes. And that's all I had for news. Ian.
All right. So, better late than never, I guess. But the government tells us to start prepping for a pandemic. Of course, we've been talking about that for over a year now, but hey, now it became news. So, it's official when the government starts making comments about it. So I put an article link in there as well.
Since the government said it, must be a good idea, right?
That's right. It's got to be a great idea if the government says it.
It must be a thing now.
That's right. At least it's not conspiracy theory now. So, I think somebody put up that meme today that all of a sudden preppers aren't being made fun of anymore. It's kind of funny. So then, of course, one doctor comes on CNN today and he went, histrionic basically on CNN and said, the virus can't be contained. We're all going to die. So I just thought it was a good link to throw on there just because that's how crazy the media can get now. I think the media is overplaying it a bit. The government's underplaying it a bit, but,
you tell your side, I'll tell my side. Somewhere in the middle is the truth.
That's right. And then, in other shocking developments after that CNN article, people are now swarming Costco's. So there's a news article here which showed people in, I think, New Jersey and Costco. They were lined up 5 minutes before. They were shuffling for positions, and I guess within 10 minutes, all the toilet paper was gone and everything else. And they had all sorts of pictures of empty shelves at Costco. So pretty predictable. But
I was in Lowe's the other day, and they had bare shelves where the N95 masks were, but full stock of P95 and N100 masks.
See, they weren't watching our episode.
Scary thing.
Yeah. But N95 masks completely decimated. I found that interesting.
I've offered N99 masks and P100 masks to people that have not been able to get the N95, and they insist that I send them the N95 masks.
They don't want anything better. They just want
better. Yeah. I want what the media says to get.
I tried to explain that they're better, but they just won't take it.
What's funny is a few weeks ago I was mentioning that my local supermarket still had a full stock of hand sanitizers and all that kind of stuff, and I was in there today and it's all gone. So it's starting to catch up out this way as well.
All right. So was that the news articles you had, Ian?
Sorry. I think that's all I had. Yeah.
So for myself, I have one which I just couldn't not put into the list. It's how to be a smart coronavirus prepper. I saw that. I was like, yep, that's going on the list for sure. And it's actually fairly well written. It's not a, oh my God, we're all going to die type of article. It's got some good tips and some good tricks and some good information. So it's worth a check. Another one from CBC, a Saskatoon senior. She amassed $20,000 in doomsday prep food before unfortunately passing away. So I thought that was a pretty interesting news article, and there was really no shortage of preparedness type of news articles for this episode because that's kind of what the mainstream media is picking up and running with right now.
Mm-hmm. But where is all that food now, and who has control of it?
They are apparently selling it off at below cost. So if you want to figure out where they're selling it, most of it's Facebook Marketplace, according to the news article. So
20,000 is going to be a lot of food.
It looks like
that's what I'm saying, right?
You would buy it in pallets. So
wow.
Right.
This is what I'm saying. That's a lot of food, and I mean, Saskatoon is not that far.
Nope.
If you look on Costco's website, they sell about a pallet. Some of these packages are I think $6,000 or $7,000, but
wow.
They have it on there as well.
And one final one I have here is in regards to Amazon starting to battle the misleading products in regards to coronavirus. So they're finally starting to crack down on retailers that are trying to sell those N95 masks for $1,500 for a package, and all kinds of other wonderful things that are misleading people. So it's good to see they're finally. It's been a couple weeks, but they're finally starting to pull those ads down. So,
holy cow! I'm just reading that article you put up. They're selling $50 buckets for $15.
Yeah,
that's insane.
That's a deal.
That's a good deal. I'm gonna go find these folks and stock up.
So we're doing a podcast trip out to Saskatoon.
Road trip.
Yeah.
So for me, so Washington State reports their first coronavirus death. So this is the first confirmed death in the United States from the coronavirus, and I guess they're saying that scientists believe that the coronavirus has been in the Seattle area for a few weeks now, and that the rate of infected could actually be in the hundreds or low thousands. They just have yet to manifest themselves. So that was just interesting because, this is obviously a milestone, right? It's the first death in the United States. And at the same time, I think Canada reported another 4 or 6 cases in Ontario. I'm unsure what the exact number is, but we can see that we're seeing some pretty big increases, and albeit still low, we're seeing some pretty big increases here in the number of both cases and reported deaths around the world. So continuing to follow this really closely.
But that's the same occurrence that put those 25 firefighters into quarantine.
Right, it's the same area, right?
I bet you it was the same occurrence.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, actually, the province of BC has done more coronavirus testing than the entire United States. So they're not really testing a whole lot down there. They've done a total of 460 tests, I think, total nationwide. And BC was going crazy because of those first few cases we have. So I guess no testing, no positives, right? It's all good.
No news is good news.
Yeah.
If I don't see it, it's not illegal.
Yeah. Fair enough. Anybody else on the panel have any news articles?
Nope. That's it.
Silence. All right. Let's move into what we've done lately for our preps.
Well, we should probably mention that it was bought to us by Super SE Straps, and somebody was after a link to Super SE Straps, so I threw that right at the very top.
Perfect.
Beauty. That's cool stuff. I'm beyond thrilled with the products. They're great. Super SE Straps, awesome products, good people.
So what we've done for prep, so I've been stepping up my food prep game a lot. This is something, I've got a lot of long-term food. What I don't have is a lot of short-term food. So these are foods that we typically eat on a regular basis. So we're talking about canned goods like fruits and vegetables, dry pastas, rice, pasta sauce, canned meat. These are things that have typically, I look for anywhere from 18 months to 2 years shelf life, and that I can easily and quickly rotate into my main pantry. So if this doesn't, if the coronavirus pandemic doesn't pan out, so to speak, it's still something I can rotate into the main pantry, not lose a bunch of money. And I also today ordered a Big Berkey system from Rapid Survival to complete my water prep game. Now this would be a last resort for me because I do have a drilled well, so I can pull a significant amount of clean water through that. But I just want to make sure I cover all my bases. So that's what I've done.
Appreciate the business. For myself, speaking of business, I have been extremely overwhelmed with orders. I'm about 40 behind now, and it's mainly for either dried food like Wise Food or the N95 masks, and surprisingly water bobs as well for some weird reason have taken off recently. So I've been dealing with that. And, a little bit of a joke pre-show, so I'll chuckle on away now. But besides that, my distilling gear all arrived. So my 21 liters of water is now sitting in a bucket, and in about 7 to 12 days, I will be distilling said water. Why it needs to sit in a bucket for 7 to 12 days before distilling it, I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure it will be tasty when it's done.
It's important to flavor that water correctly, too. So.
Yes, absolutely.
You have to perfuse the flavor.
Yes, there will be some flavoring to said distilled water, I'm sure.
All right, as for myself, I rotated some food stores. Obviously, with the latest craze, go through the media, we kind of got a head start on it, so we decided to rotate what we had out and make sure we got the newest and best stuff. More of what we use, just like Hugues. So worst case scenario, we just use it anyway because it's stuff we normally eat. And let's see here. So we picked some more nettle because it's the season for it right now, which has some health benefits. So you can make it into a tea, a soup, everything else. So we got a couple bags of that this morning. Did some more reloading today. I assembled a coronavirus travel kit for the wife. Her and my daughter are taking off for a trip to Asia. So I figure it was a good timing on that one. Anyway.
It just seems like a bad idea.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, no, there's a discussion going on in the house about whether or not that's going to happen. It's still a couple weeks away, and I have a feeling that the flights will be canceled long before that becomes an option. So anyway, I was just assembling a kit for them to take with them if they do go. Knocked down some trees for the fall burning season ahead of time here just to split them up and stuff, get them the whole summer to dry off. I had lunch with the traveling prepper while I was at work there for a while. We got to discuss the current DEF CON status and thoughts and about opinions on what's going on. And that's pretty much it for me. Other than that, I've pretty much been at work the whole time. So
I too have been doing a fair bit of work lately. Got a little bit of work done on my vehicle, ramping down my existing SUV, and I'm researching trucks. So that's going to be a fun project. We're going to build a pickup truck that is a everyday vehicle / potential bug out vehicle. So it's going to be coming up in the spring. We'll see what we can do to get that thing kitted out. Like everybody else, added some food, water, cleaners, paper products to the inventory. Sound like a broken record on the show. Added the stuff that we use on a regular basis, so that we can just rotate it through the stock, but just increase the level that we keep. I'm doing everything as practically and useful as possible, because I am assuming that the Earth will continue to rotate and the sun will again rise tomorrow, and I will have to get up and go to work. Until I hear otherwise, that's how we're going to keep going.
All right. Like Alan, I've also done some vehicle maintenance on my car. I set up a truck toolbox for winter conditions and off-roading or camping. I ordered my vegetable seeds and herb seeds for the garden. Like everybody else in the panel, I also restocked the food pantry and a few other supplies, cleaning supplies, that sort of thing. And I called my doctor and increased my daily prescription from 30 to 90 days. So
that's a fantastic point. Like, that is
smart move
where you could end up in a world of hurt. So that's an excellent plan.
Yeah, I've read a few articles, and they're saying that's going to be probably one of the biggest, or I guess the hardest hit areas, is shortages in prescription meds, and I guess just the pharmaceutical area in general. So.
Yes, so because whenever China doesn't make for prescription meds, India makes up the bulk of the rest, but they get 80% of their active pharmaceutical ingredients from China.
Exactly.
So if the factories are shut down, nobody's making anything.
Yep. Yeah. So if that's something you've been putting off for a while now, is you've got a good reason now to tell the doctor. So I'd suggest getting it done now.
And that includes penicillins. Most penicillins are made in China.
Mm-hmm. And that was it for me.
So I put on my amateur gunsmith hat the last couple of weeks. 2 new rifles in the shop, new service rifle for this year. I'm going to shoot classic division, so I built a new parts gun. IBI barrel, of course. Go see my friend Ryan Stacy at International Barrels. And a new precision rifle built on an ultimatum deadline action, also Canadian, and also running an International Barrels barrel. I'm going to shoot all the classic divisions at National Service Condition Championship this year. And I need a big trophy, so new guns.
Awesome. Nice.
And then, yeah, brass prep this winter.
Yeah, good thing to do in the winter. Right, let's move into the main topic. So for myself, for the spending of the $500 to get started, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm programming a 100% off coupon on Rapid Survival. Therefore, I can use the $500 for booze.
He's cheating,
and I'm done. Yeah. So seriously,
it's not cheating; it's winning.
It's using the resources available to me. Right. That was allowed in the wargaming. Right. Yeah. So assuming I'm new to the prepping. My location, I'm semi-rural. When I moved here, I was rural, but they're starting to build around us. So I'm still going to do the sheltering in place thing. But the first thing I'm going to want to cover off is a food supply. So slowly with each regular shopping trip, and I know we say this pretty much in every episode, we talk about food. I'm going to add a few cans, just add to my stockpile. So they're not going to be designated for meals this week or the next week. They're just going to be in the stockpile. And then they can be rotated through as we go. Costco for cases of water. You can't beat the price. It's funny how it fluctuates. One day you'll go in, it'll be $2 for a case of 48. The next day you go in, it's $4 for a case of 48. I haven't ever seen any higher than $4. Can't beat the price. First aid kit. When I was first getting into preparedness, that was kind of my priority. So I bought a reasonably priced kit. It was around $20-$30. Nothing fancy, but at least then I had something to build around. And as more funds became available, I could add more to that kit and expand it, but I had a basic system just for the everyday kind of minor scrapes, burns, nicks, cuts, all that kind of stuff. The key to this scenario is you're planning before the need for the preps. So there's no rush to run and grab and buy absolutely everything you can certainly find. I run into that quite often. People will call me at Rapid Survival asking to buy everything under the sun because they've been on some prepper form. And they've suggested that they need this huge list of 1,000 things, or else they're going to die tomorrow. It's not the way it's going to go. So just be realistic with your planning. Don't go out and feel that you have to spend that $500 at a single retailer or a single location or on a single item. Spread it out. You don't have to fulfill every single checkbox on your list right away. So you want to focus on things that are likely going to affect you in your area. And of course, you're going to be kind of focused on one or two certain things. If it's a long-term power outage that you're worried about, look at grabbing candles at the dollar store, flashlights. You can grab them at the dollar store. You can get them at like Home Hardware or Home Depot or somewhere. If you're looking for a little bit of a higher quality flashlight, a camping stove so you can cook. Please cook outside if the power's out, or even if the power's on, cook outside. A portable radio with the weather repeater frequencies is good as well. They can range from about $20 to $100 depending on what you're looking for. Quick little tip: if you want two birds with one stone, the Motorola family band radios normally come with the weather repeater channels programmed in. It's just a certain key combination you have to push on them, and then they'll flip into that mode. Then you can get the repeaters, but you can use them for communication as well. And then stockpile, like I mentioned earlier, stockpile some food that you can actually easily cook on that camping stove, because not everything will cook nicely on a camping stove. So keep in mind what you're planning on using, and then stock up accordingly. If you're, for whatever weird reason, prepping for an outbreak of some sort, coronavirus perhaps, you're a little bit too late to the game. But if we weren't currently in this, this climate of grab everything right now, and with all the markets being jacked up for prices, if we weren't in that, you can look at some areas to purchase. One tactic that I had used in the past, prior to starting up Rapid Survival, is just looking to approach some wholesalers for medical devices. Some may sell to you as a citizen, not a company. Some might just close the door and tell you to go away. But what's the harm in asking, right? Call them up and see if they'll sell you a few products here and there, and it'll be at a cheaper price than at a retail store. Can't hurt to help, or can't hurt to try and call them and see what they'll say. If you're planning for an economic collapse, if you're that type of preparedness person, scope out some precious metals. One spot that I found, Silver and Gold Bull. So you check out silvergoldbull.ca. They usually offer 10-ounce silver bars at spot pricing. So a year and a bit ago, I was able to grab a 10-ounce bar at about $199 for a bar. Then you've got it. If you're a computer nerd such as myself, if you want to look at cryptocurrency as a thing, have at it, but just be prepared that what you put in could disappear tomorrow. But something to look at anyways. So it's kind of a couple of the quick tips and tricks that I had, and a couple of things that I planned out.
Well, of course, the good news is if you invest in the cryptocurrency, you might end up being able to finance all your prepping, depending on which way it goes.
It really depends. Yeah, it could disappear or it could quadruple.
Well, because didn't Bitcoin go up to it started off with almost being worthless to almost being thousands and thousands of bucks per Bitcoin, and then it's right back down again. And
that's why some people are digging through garbage dumps right now trying to find their old hard drives that contain their old wallets, because they threw them out thinking it wasn't worth anything, and now it's worth a lot.
I had bought some at $8.74, and I sold at $1,400, and I thought that was the ultimate ceiling, and lo and behold, it wasn't. Yeah. But I know some other people who had a wallet on a phone, forgot the password for the phone, and after 10 wrong password entries, the phone wipes itself. Oh, and man. I think he was like there was 50 or 60 Bitcoins on there. Not the ton. It wasn't significant, but it's like, buddy, that's like $300,000 for when it hit its ceiling, right? So, a $300,000 BlackBerry that never was. So,
that would hurt.
Yeah,
and it continued to hurt for a while, I think.
The only thing that could make that worse is if it, at least with the BlackBerry, it's gone. If it was like an iPhone, he would just be locked out for like 100-something stupid years. So it's still there. Just can't get into it.
Yeah.
As for myself, I didn't want to drone on with the every single item I put on here, but I did attach a link to the show notes. People can feel free to download the entire budgeted items I made up. I came in at $499, so I just under the line. Nice. So I wasn't going with any particular situation. I went for a goal of 1 month with some very basic, bland, dietary fatigue style food. But you'll live. And enough for one person anyways, and I'm assuming you're in a small house or apartment. He didn't really specify if he had a wood stove, so that kind of opens that question of whether or not you're going to be able to cook or whether you're going to be able to keep warm or whatever. And at first I thought about buying a extreme cold weather parka from the surplus store, but I thought, well, every Canadian probably has climate-specific clothing for where he lives, so that's not really much of a point in budgeting for that. But I also assume they had a Costco membership, which not everybody does, but a lot of people do, I think. And then, so as long as I got that,
your friend will have one, right?
Exactly.
Well, there's actually a trick if you want to shop at Costco for free. If you go into the store and buy a gift card, you don't have to have a membership to buy a gift card, and then you don't need a membership to spend the gift card.
Oh,
well, there you go.
So it's not the easiest way to do it if you want, but if you want to get around paying the $50 or $60 membership, you can say, I'm just buying a gift card for my friend, no membership required, and you don't need a membership to spend the gift card either. So
Nice.
But the smallest
$100
denomination you can buy is it was $100.
I've never gotten out of Costco without like a $300 bill. So
yeah. And it's the rule of Costco too. If you see it that's there, grab it because it might not be next time. But
Yep.
Well, and my Costco membership, we went up to the executive level because you're guaranteed to get that money back. It's essentially free, and then everything on top of whatever you buy, like you end up with cash back, which just goes to more preps at the end of the year. So leverage their loyalty base.
Yeah. As far as everything else goes, it's so hard when it's such a general budget that we're dealing with here. But I'm assuming that you're not trying to bug out into the bush with a $500 budget, because it's probably not going to happen, or survive the zombie apocalypse or anything else. So I'm assuming that you have access to a regular kitchen with knives in it and can openers and everything else. I didn't want to put that into my budget at all. Maybe you'll have power, maybe you won't. But if I on the food items, I had like rice and oatmeal, which both of them can be cooked without heat if you just leave them sitting in water overnight. I think my wife used to call it cold oats or something like that. That's what they used to, or overnight oats. I think that's what it was, where they used to do that. Just leave it in the pot overnight in the fridge, and the next morning it's ready to go. So, yeah, and I'm assuming that you're going to have condiments in your fridge and spices and barbecue, like a barbecue outside that maybe you can heat stuff up with, like blankets. I wasn't going to spend money on that with my thing. But also, again, a lot of new preppers don't have a firearms license called a PAL up here in Canada. So, yeah, I'm assuming that didn't come into play at all because, as soon as you start talking even a single shot shotgun or anything else, you're going to be well over the budget too. So, anyways, if everybody wants to, they can check out the link to the document. And yeah, it covers a little bit of everything, like food, first aid, a little bit of gear to deal with some basic emergencies like power outages, a couple jerry cans like we've harped on many times, and everything else. So that's all I had.
That's awesome. I think for me, I'm just going to speak by personal experience. So when I got into prepping, I got the bug from watching a show, Doomsday Prepper. I think that's how a lot of people kind of get into it. And then you kind of realize, maybe I should be preparing for stuff. So I think what I did is I looked at, how long can I sustain myself off what I have in my house now? And this was before I got into prepping. I said, I probably have 2, maybe 3 weeks worth of food if I really stretched everything out. So I looked at everything at that point and I said, I need first aid, I need water, I need food, I need heat, I need light, and all these things, and then kind of broke it down and said, what, the most important thing is water and then food. So just like Eric and Ian have already mentioned, throwing in an extra $20 worth of shelf stable foods like pastas and rices and canned goods and all that kind of stuff into your grocery every week, that gets you a long way to start building up that pantry. Eric made a really good point about the Costco water. One of the things that I did was buying the 5-gallon or 18-liter jugs, and off a site like Amazon or some other sites have them as well, you can buy a pump that goes into the top of the bottle, so you don't have to have a $200 or $300 water dispenser. You can just have a hand pump, and then it's basically a lot of bulk water for a really cheap price because you get the $10 back for the bottle. You're really paying like $4 or $5 for 5 gallons of water. So that's your water that's covered. A lot of ways to light a fire, getting some candles for light, buy your batteries. Like Costco's a great place, Amazon's a great place for disposable or rechargeable batteries. $500, I mean, you'll burn it quickly, but you can quickly also go from having 3 weeks of storage on hand, 3 weeks of food storage on hand to like 2 months or 3 months of food storage on hand. Now, you're not going to eat the best. It's not going to be, a feast every meal, but it's going to be enough to sustain yourself. And I think the most important thing I found is that at the beginning, I was buying foods that I wouldn't regularly eat, and especially with 3 young children, foods that they wouldn't eat. So I can't expect them, especially in a time of emergency, to eat foods that they don't regularly eat. They're going to be looking for comfort foods. They're going to be looking for something that they're used to eating. So I really had to force myself to come back and say, only stock up on things that I know the kids are going to eat. If not, I may as well not be buying this stuff because they're not going to eat it. And if it's a stressful situation because there's a pandemic or the routine is broken, it's just not going to help. So to me, it's just looking at what you have on hand, estimating how long you have based on what you've got, and then starting to stretch that out from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, from 4 weeks to 2 months, I guess would be my best advice.
And it's a really good point. You can buy all the freeze dried, mountain house meals you want, but not everybody's going to like those. You can't live on those forever. And don't be afraid to put some treats like some candies and chocolate bars and whatever that your family likes, because you're gonna want to keep life as normal as possible. That
right,
not
and that's something that I read too, is that, and something I never thought about was, bug out bags for the kids. And, I don't expect the kids to carry a 60-pound rucksack full of food and weapons and all that kind of stuff, right? But comfort items, like my children are 1, 3, and 6, so they're going to want books, they're going to want toys, they're going to want plush animals, they're going to want iPads as long as the batteries last. If you're in a sorry, I can't say that on here. If you're in a SHTF situation, the last thing I need is 3 kids at me because they're bored or, they're not going to understand, right? So to me, a bug out bag for kids is something that they can have comfort items, they can have treats, they can have things that they're going to leave me alone so I can focus on adult things, I guess. So, and that's the thing, just don't put, canned beans and pasta, like Alan said, put some treats in there, right? Put some chocolate in there. A lot of stuff is shelf stable. It'll last for like 2 or 3 years. And you can rotate it through your preps as well.
The freshest packaged food that you're getting in the grocery store is already a year old before you get it. So it'll last. It's fine. And that's great, and it's again, we kind of sound like a broken record in this episode because we're all kind of on the same page. I did bother to go through and put everything down. I went through kind of the hierarchy of life, so we can go based on the rule of 3. So you can go 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. So the way I broke it down, for air, I mean, obviously, it's going to exist or it's not. And if you don't have we're not going to talk gas masks or N90 or air contaminants or SCBAs or anything, because that's way beyond what we need to get started. But make sure that you have a CO detector. I found most of these on Home Depot, and I just put retail prices on everything from Home Depot or Canadian Tire or even Rapid Survival, and that will get you. That'll get you closer to ready. And then my screen just jumped and I lost everything that I had on here. What'd you do?
Uh-oh.
Somebody did something.
Oh, that was me. I think I added some stuff and it would probably jump.
Yeah, now everything's gone.
Oh.
There it is. Okay.
It should still be there.
I'm back. All right. We all share the same screen, and it all disappears. So for shelter, I'm assuming that we're in a single family home. It's detached. It's either urban or suburban, but not rural. So something a realistic emergency. Winter storm blows down a tree that kills your power and knocks a hole in the side of the roof. Much like Ian, I didn't get too in depth into the basics of life, because you've already got a barbecue or a fire pit or something. But if you've got a hole in your roof and you need to keep one area warm, I put in a couple of tarps. I put some 10 by 15 foot tarps. They're white in color just because I remember this from the guy that ran my hunting course. He had a tarp shelter that he took with him, and he said that he had darker colored tarps in his original shelter, and after a couple of days everybody was miserable, and he figured that it had something to do with the fact that everything was dark inside. So with white tarps, everybody was happier and it felt better. To help seal your room off, I put in 3 rolls of tuck tape. Princess Auto has a little breakdown wood stove, I'm assuming that you have a source of wood for that. And that's about $68. And most Princess Auto stock those. I did a little bit of looking today.
Or Harbor Freight in US.
Or Harbor Freight if you're stateside. Yep.
Yeah. Harbor Freight's awesome. They've got like everything for dirt cheap.
Yep. Harbor Freight and Princess Auto are basically the same thing in my experience. Just like Hughes said, the 5-gallon jugs and a pump. To run those, will run you about $25. Backup for Aquatabs, which you can get at rapidsurvival.com for about $11. Those will purify water. For food, I ran a 20-pound bag of rice, 10 cans of tuna, 2 packs of oatmeal, a ton of protein powder, basic condiments, and some canned vegetables, and all that together runs about $150, right? It doesn't cost much. That'll sustain life for a few weeks, depending on the size of your family. It won't be glamorous, but it will keep you alive. Because we're talking about virus transmission. We've talked about this before. For sanitation, I put in a package of baby wipes that will help keep you clean and disinfected, 3 big bottles of hand sanitizer, a bucket disposal system. There are 100 YouTube videos about that, but it's essentially a 5-gallon bucket of pool noodle and some garbage bags that will give you a way to keep your area clean and free of maggots and gross stuff. And that whole package will run you about $60. Yeah, about $60. I found a battery-powered radio for about $13. You can get most times if you go to Canadian Tire near the checkout, you'll find multi-packs of LED flashlights with batteries for about $10. Get some candles, batteries, tools, just some basic tools. I just put in a miscellaneous budget because that's what I had left at the end as I was doing my math. About $25 to get a hatchet, a hammer, whatever you need. That's all retail pricing. If you look for sales, if you go to Costco, if you go to Amazon, you can probably cut that cost in half really readily. The point of the exercise was mostly that you've got options, and we set it above. Like, you got to do your risk assessment. What is your highest priority? What are your big risks, and what do you need to focus on first? Most people can live for a week with what they've got, but not if it's not if you've got snow blown into the side of your house. Mm-hmm. And that's my list.
I think too, it's important to understand that we're saying have 2 months of food on hand, and I've got quite a bit of food on hand, and that's understanding that I'm not going to leave my house, or I'm not going to have any replenishments for 2 months. Yep. I'm not saying that's a far-fetched scenario where I live, but it kind of is, right? If I'm in that scenario where I can't get anything, I'm going to switch from, being a dad and living my life and going to work and all that kind of stuff to survival mode 100%, which means that I will be scrounging and going anywhere I can to get food to replenish this. I'm not going to wait and watch my supplies basically diminish until I don't have anything. I'm going to be in 100% gathering mode. I mean, if I hear that there's a corner store that has a bunch of stuff in it, I will go and buy the place out, right? Like, so you just have to think about that as well. That it's not like, stuff's not going well, and the food that I have on hand is I've got 3 months and then I'm dead, right? So,
well, that's same thing with hunting too. That'll offset your food expenditures. It'll stretch out what you have, add some variety, everything else too. I mean, you brought up a good point, Alan, with the hand sanitizer, baby wipes, everything else. I mean, I had rubber gloves with bleach, and link to Hughes's video on how to make your bleach from pool shock. Because instead of buying bleach, I bought pool shock to get way more bleach out of the deal with a limited budget. But yeah, there's so many aspects to cover. It's kind of hard to cover it all off.
Yeah, and that's I mean, again, we've got a million variables, and we don't have an entire scenario, and we're not talking about using $500 and that's all you've got. This is where a good place to start. And so again, every one of us is going to approach this a little bit differently, and there's a lot of ideas, all of which is pretty cool. But it's a good think tank of how to get started.
Well, also don't discount free stuff, right?
Absolutely.
I put it on my list as well. So I mean, like, you could spend hours on YouTube just learning various skill sets. Cheap but time intensive, of course. But hey, if you're in self-isolation for 14 days due to the coronavirus, you got the time. So everything from Sawyer water filter hacks, you can, like, all the different things you can do with a Sawyer water filter. There's like 20 videos on that. Pool shock into bleach with HFX Prepper. I think put that link in my notes as well. Same thing, you download a bunch of books. I mean, you can download thousands of free books in PDF or EPUB format that you can read via your devices or ahead of time or print off if you want.
And you might have a lot of time to read that stuff if something happens.
Exactly. So I mean, it's all free to do. So I mean, and then outside of your budget down the road, long term, of course, there's always, like, you know, take a first aid course, take a PAL course to get your firearms license, everything else, because no knowledge is wasted, right? So outside the budget, there's lots of stuff to do as well.
I think, too, the underlying theme I'm hearing from all the panelists is that if you look at covering your bases, most people have the bases covered. It's just for how long do I have them covered for. So where do I need to take that $500 and really step up my game? Some people I know, you open up their fridge, they have 4 items in there. Mm-hmm. They're probably going to go first unless they can really step up that game. So you really have to look at, do I have the bases covered and for how long? And then at that point, if I only have 4 days of food on hand, I may want to step that up. And that's kind of what I'm hearing from everyone, right?
Hey, you're bang on.
Exactly. Yep. So for me, kind of assuming the same thing. You've probably living in your own house or apartment. You've got the basic stuff you need. So I'm kind of listing off some items that are going to come in handy for some of your more common day-to-day emergencies, like car breakdowns, power outages, natural disasters. I actually used Walmart, walmart.com. So I've got a link in the show notes here to my list.
So his list is at $500 is like $850 Canadian.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, I guess we can clarify that.
How about that? Yeah.
It surprisingly still doesn't go as far as you would think. The first 3 items I've got on my list are kind of EDC or everyday carry related. I've got the Streamlight Stylus Pro. It's an LED pen light. I carry that every day, and it's awesome. That comes in at $20.50. The next item I've got is a SOG. It's a folding knife. Any variation of a folding pocket knife is a great thing to carry. That comes in at $26.68. And then I've got a 7-count of Bic Classic lighters for $6.47. So those are 3 items that I always have on me, regardless. Next item I've got is a 800 amp lithium ion jump starter, and it's also got USB ports for charging phones or any other electronic devices. It's a little spendy, $80, but I tell you, if your car does not start on you, you're going to be glad you spent the $80 and you're able to just jump start it yourself. Jumper cables are a good budget-friendly option to kind of satisfy this area as well. But then you're reliant on somebody else being there to jumpstart your car for you. The battery pack's nice because you don't need anybody else there, and you can also charge other devices.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And unless you happen to have two vehicles, and hopefully you wouldn't have 2 dead vehicles all at the same time. But
exactly, yep. And after that, the next 4 I've got are kind of assuming that you're living in a colder weather climate, and they all have to do with propane. So the first one I've got is a 15,000 BTU tank top heater. This is a Dynaglow, but like the Mr. Buddy heaters are the same principle. They run about $40. I've also got a Coleman portable propane, like kind of your classic camp stove with 2 burners. I've got a 20-pound propane cylinder. The Coleman propane stove is $42.88, and then the propane tank is about $40 as well. And then I've also got a adapter to fill the smaller 1-pound tanks off of your 20-pound tank, and then an adapter line to run your Coleman stove off a larger tank as well, and that is $14. A couple of good items for power outages. I had a 100-pack of tea light candles for $14.50, and a 6-piece flashlight headlamp and lantern and pen light combo. So it's kind of a flashlight pack, and it comes with batteries, and that's only $10. Also got a Sawyer mini water filter. That's $20. So that's going to allow you to basically filter any source of water really that you can get your hands on. Also got a 62-piece first aid kit. This is kind of a cheapie, but if you don't have anything, it's better than nothing. It actually comes with a triangular bandage and a good bit of gauze, and kind of covers the basic stuff for $15, so not bad. And then finally, I got a 48-pack of AAA batteries, so that's going to power all of the flashlights that I kind of listed off already. And then that being said, you've got about 150 left for food and water. So the next thing I did was kind of set aside $100 for food, and I've got in the list here a 30-day food supply from Augustin Farms. This is going to be freeze dried. This is probably your best bet if your initial plan in an SHTF scenario is to bug out, because then you can just grab this and you've got 30 days of food right there. You're going to have a harder time carrying 30 days of canned goods, food out the door if you need to leave the house. But that being said, if your plan is to bug in, then I would take that $100 and spend it on canned food or other kind of, intermediate term storage foods like we've talked about already. And then with the last $35 I had, I've got 14 cases of bottled water. So that's going to give about 45 gallons of water. And again, that'd be enough for about 30 days to live on. So that rings in at $498.89.
So the funny thing is that it's amazing how different the prices can be. Like, so for the Sawyer water filter, you guys are paying 20, we're paying 30 at least.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and surprisingly, you can actually buy those right in the store. Some of these items are online order only, but a good majority of them are stocked right in the store.
Oh yeah, we bought our Sawyers right at the Walmart just across the border from Vancouver. So
yep, they've got a surprisingly good array right at Walmart of camping supplies. And their Ozark Trail is kind of their, I guess, but budget-friendly option, and most of their stuff that I've used is actually surprisingly well. And I guess if you're an avid bushcrafter, you're camping every weekend, that's probably not what you're going to be spending your money on. But for camping a couple times a year, it seems to hold up pretty well. So,
yeah, well, and it's certainly it's going to do the job, right? And that's again, we're looking at a starting point.
Right.
Not the ultimate. You're not taking $500 and bugging out with it, because I think we've all kind of mentioned that is not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I had kind of a final note when it comes to bags. Your bug out bags and get home bags. That's where a lot of people start, and it's easy to spend $500 or even way in excess of that on just one of those bags. When it comes to that, I'd say just start with what you have laying around already. Grab a backpack, or you can get a cheap backpack for next to nothing. Throw in an extra pair of clothes, extra hat and gloves, a couple of granola bars or some trail mix, bottle of water too, maybe a few Band-Aids, any prescriptions you've got, and you're already off to a pretty good start just having that in your car with you, or having that ready to grab and go. You don't need to spend $500 or $1,000 on a bug out bag to be a lot more prepared than you could be. So start with that.
It's certainly a great start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was all I had.
So I maybe approached the problem a little bit differently, because I figured Buddy's got two courses of action. He's got his $500 from the tax man he wants to spend, or he's super afraid of the Kung Flu. So
fair enough.
Being super afraid of the Kung Flu, first thing is just assessment. What do you have? What do you need? Then a matter of solving that problem, prioritize and execute. So do your SWOT. What are your strengths? Well, you don't currently have the Kung Flu, but you do have $500.
Good trade.
So far, you're up.
Right? Weaknesses.
Could you explain
don't have anything.
Sorry.
Sorry. SWOT is a standard business practice. They use it in a lot of industries. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats assessments.
There you go.
So find your four things, put the things in the categories, and then prioritize and execute based on that. Trying to make it as simple as possible. So your weakness that you've identified, you don't have anything prepared, which is probably a lie. You probably have something in your house. Like you probably have a refrigerator full of food, although, maybe it's ketchup and mustard, although technically it's still calories.
A lot of things are technically calories, right?
Right. Well, and that's the thing is like you probably don't have nothing. So you've decided you're gonna do something about this, but you're not starting from literally nothing. Your opportunity right now, the Kung Flu hasn't disrupted the supply chain, so you can go and buy stuff while the stores still have it. Go and take advantage, and then stock up on things that aren't going to go bad, which everybody's already said that. I think everybody on the panel's talked about shelf-stable foods and things that are going to last. And then, of course, your threat in this case is the virus, and then possible shutdowns of things, services due to the virus. So, like, your just-in-time inventory system, your grocery store will be empty in a day or two without a truck coming to refill it. So, pitter-patter.
Yeah, the Costco the other day when we were there about a week and a half ago was the last time we went, and they still had like a big pile of surgical gloves and, actually useful stuff, but it's probably gone soon thereafter. I mean, it'd be cleared out fairly quickly, I would think, right?
Yeah, and until they get the next truck in, like, if there's not a truck today, there's no gloves today, there's not gloves until the truck comes, if there's no manufacturing, if nothing's being exported out of China, like, you kind of SOL, it's too late now. So, after that, it's just deal with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You're probably not getting past security. So physical stuff you got to deal with: water, food, sanitation, first aid, fuel. Again, the assumption being that you have a place that you already live. You're not a homeless person that has literally nothing, because even then, like, if you're a homeless person, you probably have somewhere that you sleep that's probably reasonably warm and dry. Probably not like, the Ritz-Carlton, like, 5-star hotel, but you're probably not living in a swamp, right? You're going to be warm and dry in something. So deal with water. 2 weeks of water is going to cost you less than $100. I have a different opinion than other people on the panel, though. Go buy the 4-liter containers, or 1 gallon for our American friends. Your elderly parent and small child can lift this. They cannot lift the 15-liter container.
Good point.
That's a good point.
Fair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
They don't stack as nice, though.
They don't stack as nice, but the 4-liter ones here are kind of cuboidal-ish.
Okay.
They stack okay.
That helps.
Don't buy the round ones. Ours are sort of like blocky rectangle things with a one tapered end where the spout is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stack those. 4 liters of water per person per day, or 1 gallon for our American friends. So at $1.50 for a 4-liter container, 2 weeks of water for a family of is that 4? Yeah, would be $100. Go and buy food, spend $100. It's another grocery bill. I mean, average grocery bill for, your North American family is $100 a week, give or take. Go rice, beans, canned fruit, canned veggies, stuff that's shelf stable, stuff that's not going to go bad, stuff preferably that you're going to eat someday. Maybe it's not.
Don't buy canned lima beans.
Well, unless you like canned lima beans.
Who likes canned lima beans? What kind of communists do we have around here?
I mean, I prefer the canned white beans, but they're really not that different. The white beans are just higher in fiber and have more potassium. But, I mean, neither here nor there. Go buy stuff you're going to eat anyway, and buy stuff that you like.
But also spend some time in the military, and anything in a can. It's fair game, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, just put Tabasco sauce on it, right?
Yeah, just put some Mrs. Dash on it, and you're good to go. Like,
it's good. It's perfectly fine.
Which, in all seriousness, does bring up a good point about condiments, right? You're not going to be eating glamorously, but you can make it taste good with a variety of condiments, which are cheap. They don't go bad, and they make life worth living for a little while.
Yeah, so living in the field with the military, I carried salt, pepper, Mrs. Dash, and Tabasco sauce, and this all fit within my canteen cup, and it made every single meal a very pleasurable experience.
Mm-hmm.
If you forget that stuff, you just may as well just shoot yourself. It's just,
That's pretty miserable.
Yeah.
Although a bit of a life hack, if you plug your nose while you eat food, your taste buds actually are less effective, so you can kind of stomach a lot of stuff.
Get past. The big thing that I'm thinking that Buddy's probably missing as a new prepper is his sanitation stuff, because he's used to having running water and being able to go to the store when he runs out of soft soap.
Yeah.
So
one thing I found as a hack is Costco. They sell the baby wipes. These gigantic boxes of them. You get like nine big bags in them, and they often go on sale where you can buy like 2 boxes for like $40 or something. That literally gives you like 6,000 wipes for $40.
Yep.
And I've got an excuse that I got 3 kids, so I can stock up on it without looking crazy. But yeah, that's what I do.
I look crazy no matter what, but I'm still going to buy a couple of them because they are absolutely the best buy out there.
Mm-hmm.
My kids are well past those times, but that was, when we saw those, when my kids were little, we'd buy like 4 cases of them and throw them in the basement because it's wipes and they're sealed. They can't go bad. Yeah. And the worst case is the very last one dries out, but it never did because you go through them faster than you expect.
And as you get older, they'll become useful to you again.
Yeah,
Exactly. But I mean, even now, right? Like we're going on a road trip or we're going camping. Those wipes make it makes I won't say it makes life worth living, but it certainly makes life more comfortable. And at the end of the day, and before you climb into your tent, you can wipe off all the sunscreen and the grit and grime from your day. And
100%.
A full-sized adult needs 3 or 4 of those to do that. So I need about 12. I'm much larger than a full-sized adult, but right, but they're going to get used, and they're useful in everyday life as well as when things go terribly, terribly awry.
Well, and I think that's true for most of the stuff that I'm lumping under the sanitation category. It's all stuff that you're probably going to have and probably going to go through, but your average person is probably not going through it in a week or two, which is sort of the time frame that I'm aiming for, like 2 weeks of water, a week or two worth of shelf-stable food, a week's worth of sanitation stuff. But the assumption is you probably don't have a whole pile, like a whole spare box of contractor-grade garbage bags. You probably don't have a whole thing of extra bleach, because how much bleach do you really go through? Like, who actually washes their clothes with bleach anymore?
Right. Under normal conditions,
Yeah.
So, all of that kind of stuff. How much soap do you have on hand? How much disinfectant? How much, like, cleaning type vinegar? How much toilet paper do you have? All the stuff that you can't have too many toilet papers, but that's all the kind of stuff that I would think that would be. The store shut down, you're at home, you can't go out, whatever that reason is, you're stuck there for a week. What do you have that you're going to run out of in that week? And go and buy one extra of everything. And then you'll get $100 there pretty quick. First aid stuff, you probably, if you're brand new to this, probably have nothing. Go and buy the basic WMIS or OSHA kit. Refer to your provincial workplace regulation size kit and just go and get an equivalent for your home. So in Ontario, I think a workplace with 5 people is like a Schedule 8 kit or something, and they're like $40.
Yes. You can get them for as low as about 15 if you look hard enough. The caveat to that, I don't know about other provinces, but in Ontario, a workplace first aid kit is required to have a specific number of safety pins and a specific number of Band-Aids, but absolutely no medical gloves. So if you're gonna do the workplace route, make sure that gloves are included with it.
Well, the workplace
kit
is
the
workplace kit is higher quality stuff, but the one at Costco that I put on my list there, it's kind of like a little bit of everything, but it's all cheap stuff. But at least it includes a few gloves and everything else. But I definitely think the workplace kit, like Andrew mentioned, is a higher quality item.
Yeah, and I think gloves might fall under sanitation, because I mean, like, we just have boxes of nitrile gloves for like stuff around the house that I don't want to touch.
Yep.
Not necessarily medical gloves. I mean, I have really nice gloves that I like to use when I'm doing medical stuff. Go and buy bear claw gloves from Ragnarok Tactical. The North American Rescue bear claw gloves are awesome, but they're also like $1 a pair. The nitrile gloves that I buy from Princess Auto are like $1 for like 20 pairs.
Yep. And they do have a habit of ripping. I learned really recently. Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, they're a couple of pennies. You throw them out, and it keeps me from getting gun solvent all over myself when I'm cleaning.
Yeah.
Right. So, your basic boo-boo kit's probably not going to do you, but it's going to be better than nothing. It's going to get you started on sterile or non-sterile gauze, your bandages, triangular bandage, all the basics, and then you're going to have to add to that. You're going to have to add gloves. You're going to have to look at a trauma kit. You're probably you're starting to spend some serious money when you start getting into that. But if you don't have, a basic first aid kit, like the basic vehicle first aid kit or like a basic WMIS compliant first aid kit, go and spend the $40 and get started, because we're assuming you're starting from close to nothing. And then I think everybody's already pounded this to death. Go and spend money on fuel. Whatever your vehicle uses, unless it's electricity. I don't want your hippie nonsense mobile going anywhere. Leave that in your garage. Go and fill up your jerry cans full of diesel fuel and help warm the climate so that we don't get snowed in. Or go and top up the propane tanks or what have you, right? Because again, the assumption is you probably have a barbecue. Not everybody has one, but a lot of people have one. If you have one, go buy a spare tank, and you can cook. If you have a camping stove, great, go buy more propane. If you don't have these things, consider buying them and then learning how to barbecue, because again, you should be warming the environment just like your diesel truck.
And actually, I think one thing we haven't talked about is keeping cash on hand, because, I mean, I've seen in even a relatively small emergency where the power's out, if debit machines don't work, or credit card machines at stores, you're not going to be walking out of there with anything, at least not in a civil society still, right? Maybe take that $500 and keep it in your house. And then if something happens, you've got $500 to purchase stuff, at least if it's not in a real emergency type, right? But I think it's important to ensure that you have cash on hand. Doesn't matter if you have $10,000 in the bank. If you can't get that money out for exchange of goods and services, that money is not going to be any use, right?
And keep it in smaller denominations as well. Don't keep just $100 bills.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Another problem too, though, is if they link their cash register to their inventory and the power goes out, they won't sell you anything either. Like even Tim Hortons will not sell anything with the power out. So so I mean, cash is good. I totally agree, but some stores just won't take it
Some
anymore.
places still
Right.
don't take it.
most
In a bad
Lowe's-
situation, do you really want their coffee though?
No, I mean, I try not to go there anyways, but my daughter does work there. So.
Most
fair enough.
Lowe's in Canada have a generator backup system specifically so that they can do that. They might not be able to do electronic transactions, but they can at least manage their inventory and take cash for sales.
That's good to know, actually.
It was one of the things when I worked there that was they were really proud of the fact that they could be open in a natural disaster scenario so that they could quote help out the community by making money when other people couldn't make money.
It's got smart
Both parties
capitalism.
win, I guess, right?
Yeah, but all the inventory is managed internally. So even if they don't have communication, if they have power, they can sell.
All right.
The other thing I did was come up with creative ways for somebody that's new to this to spend that $500 in more of a one fell swoop kind of a thing. Go and install rainwater collection. That'll probably not run you your $500, but you'd be able to get some really big rain barrels for that kind of money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go build a garden. That, depending on the size of the garden, is really easy to exceed $500 really quickly.
Yep.
Buy a generator. Again, super easy to exceed $500, but you can go get a little Honda inverter. I think they're like 300 watt or 400 watt generator, and that'll be like right around $500.
You can also find, if you watch for sales, you can find like a 3,500 watt generator for $350.
Go and build a chicken coop and buy some chickens.
And listen to last week's episode before you do that.
Go and listen. Yeah. But I mean, like, it's a good time to invest in chickens.
Seriously, yeah.
No, it's funny because our egg sales went through the roof in the last 2 weeks.
Hey.
Pretty funny. Hey, look at that.
Go and buy yourself a new firearm. $500 won't get you a super duper awesome service rifle. It'll buy you a barrel for a service rifle, but it will buy you a Savage Mark II, and you can get into the Canadian Rimfire Precision Series matches. Those have a $500 limit on the rifle and a $500 limit on the optic if you're going to shoot in production class. So for $1,000, you could be maxed out of production class and be having a pretty sweet little 22.
My Mossberg was $450 when I bought it.
Yeah, I mean, you can get small rifles or basic shotguns, and you're going to be around that point. But I mean, like I aim more like you want to get into like some serious firearms use, start competing, get good at this stuff. Take up Rimfire Precision. This $500 limit gets you 50% of the top category for a production gun. If you go over $500 on either the firearm or the optic, they push you to open, and then you have to compete against guys like me with like $1,000 1022s. And you don't want to do that.
It's a long way off. Yep.
Right? $500 worth of ammo, not an inconsequential amount of ammo.
Yeah.
Or reloading supplies, not an inconsequential amount of reloading supplies. Go to Ragnarok Tactical and buy an IFAK, or the supplies to assemble an IFAK, because Health Canada says I'm not allowed to sell you an IFAK because that's technically manufacturing a medical device, which I am not licensed to do, and I will not pay the $10,000 to acquire. But I'll sell you all the parts, and you can build a couple of badass first aid kits for $500.
Nice.
You can buy a really big first aid kit for $500. Absolutely.
Yeah. It probably would have to wait till you're on sale, but go and buy yourself a Milwaukee M18 4-piece combo toolkit. Those retail for $530. You get a drill, an impact driver, a reciprocating saw, and a badass flashlight, and 2 batteries.
Yeah.
So if you don't have like cordless power tools, go buy yourself some good cordless power tools.
Most pawn shops have those brand new because they've been stolen and sold, and they're usually half the price.
Perfect. You could get 2 sets.
There you go. Yeah.
And then I have the not very sexy option, but it's like Hughes said about cash. Go and invest it in something stable. RRSPs, TFSAs, RESPs for your kid. Yeah,
Now's a good time to buy stocks.
Well, it's not sexy, but it is a
Stocks
really
are on
good time
sale
to
this week.
invest.
Yeah,
That's
no
right.
kidding.
Put that money towards that. What'd they lose? $6 billion or something?
With a T.
Trillion.
Yeah.
Oh, $6 trillion?
Yeah.
Good.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So you know what that means? The market just opened up for guys like me.
Yeah, exactly.
All my friends are panicking. I'm like, you know what? I was just going to top up my RSP, so stocks are on sale. This is perfect.
That's right. So I mean, it's not as cool as buying a new gun, but I mean, investing in your future financially, right? That's
Yeah, good return on
an easy way to
investment.
spend $500.
Which actually is a good time to just segue just for 1 second. Mohammed Omar asked us if you think it's the right time to get a new vehicle. He was thinking of trading in and getting trading his crossover into a truck. I don't think it's ever a good time to buy a new vehicle. Maybe one that's just off a lease and save yourself. Let somebody else take the depreciation. Honestly, with the way the indicators are on the economy and everything else, I would probably just hold off on increasing your debt load at this point. Maybe
See
just
where we're at in 3 months. Yeah.
maintain what you got. You know, like Alan was saying, just spend some money on car maintenance. Keep what you got. Especially if you're debt free right now and you're not making car payments, stay like that.
Stay there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you are, make sure that you're into a fixed loan and not a variable, because chances are good interest rates are going to go up fairly soon.
Yeah, that's
This
true
does
too.
not constitute financial advice. It's just entertainment only.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Allegedly, yes.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Yeah.
All right. Well, that brings us into the podcast challenge.
Your challenge for this week: keep an eye on local advertisements, find coupons that can help you add to your stockpile or for lower than usual cost. Look for things that are on sale. Make your list, prioritize your list, spend the least amount you can on said list. When it's on sale, stack it deep. I bought about 48. I bought 2 flats of soup because it was on sale for half price.
Perfect.
Lots of soup. We eat lots of soup in this house.
Nothing wrong with soup. So we'll move into episode closing and upcoming events.
All right, so we have the Podcaster Charity Shoot coming up in July 4th, 2020 here, hosted by Slamfire Radio. It's going to be taking place in Balmoral, New Brunswick at the Restigouche Gun Club. This year's charity of choice is the Rod Harquail Memorial Fund. There's a little link in the show notes. You can register on Practice Score for the charity shoot, which I think hasn't been posted yet, but it should be this week, I think. Anyway, you can find the link in the show notes as well to have to register on Practice Score.
All right, we've got the annual Preppers Meet coming up second week of July. It's in Desborough, Ontario. So it's a good week of like-minded people out for all kinds of different seminars and talks and just sharing information. I believe we're going to have Che, the organizer, on around the end of the month to talk to us about the event and let us know exactly what's all planned out and what's happening. But it's a good gathering and a good group of people and lots of information to be learned over that weekend. So.
And coming up week of May 3rd to 9th is Emergency Preparedness Week, where we celebrate all things safety nerdish. It's my favorite week of the year. We'll talk more about that as we get closer to it.
And we have TACCOM Canada 2020 happening September 11th to 13th. That's the Canadian Pro Gun Podcasters Network will be in attendance at TACCOM 2020. Your favorite podcasters will be on hand throughout the show. So make sure you stop by the booth, meet your favorite, and pick up some swag. You can see the details in the show link, the show notes as well.
And if you use the show link, you can give us a $1 kickback, help us offset our costs for setting up the show there.
Yeah. Such as the internet cost, which is astronomical.
Yeah.
Anyways, we will move into some shout-outs. So
Anybody else got anything besides me?
I think it's just you, Ian.
All right. So I got one for the Traveling Prepper. So he completed an old podcast challenge from, I think, last year. Back when we were talking about wild game and animals and everything else, we put out a podcast challenge to try and dress out your own animal of any sort, any time. And he did. So we talked about it, and it was a good learning experience for him. So next time should be much more, I guess, much easier and much more smooth than the last time, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good for him. I think he's the only guy that's actually completed that podcast challenge, too.
Yeah, I think so. haven't heard from anybody. Maybe some have completed it and just haven't let us know. But
Yeah.
okay. And we'll move into email and iTunes reviews. We'll start with Ian again.
Okay, I got one from Kevin. He just asked us to put a link to the sponsor in the show notes for Super SE straps. Done. So, you can check it out. I'll put it on the YouTube video as well.
Kevin might be from Super SE. I don't know.
Well, there you go. The link's up now. So we've got a couple of emails in the inbox since last episode. We'll start out with the first one here. It says, hello, gents. Just a quick question about chicken eggs. I heard Ian and Tyler mention a little something about egg taste, but I don't remember them going into too much depth. Just remembering my grandma's chickens back in the day in southwestern Saskatchewan. They would always get some monster grasshoppers on the farm. Her birds were always free range, and I didn't think I've ever had eggs better than those laid during the grasshopper Armageddon. So wondering how much impact does a chicken's diet have on its eggs? As a follow-up, what would be the preferred feed to get the more unique taste? Thank you, and keep up the great work. And it's signed off, Boston.
Well, I'd say it absolutely affects how the eggs turn out is what goes into them. Like, even if they're short in calcium, you get the soft shell. If you feed them garlic, it makes the eggs stink like garlic. It's it's kind of like eating asparagus for us, right? So obviously, whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. The more variety they have in their diet, probably the better the eggs are going to be overall. But I find just generally we use organic feed for the actual eating eggs, and that seems to do well, as well as what they find on the property, and it makes for a nice, firm, bright-colored yolk. And instead of being watery, the egg white is actually more like hair gel. So I'd say garbage in, garbage out. So
yeah, exactly. Allow them to forage as much as they can in their pen or coop or whatever setup you've got, and just supplement with a good feed, whether that's pelleted or grain or whatever you come up with. But yeah, quality in, quality out.
Yeah, you can actually put supplements in their water as well. Makes it look like Tang, and but it gives them everything else they're missing. That depending on where you live. Like I just have moss-covered rocks for the most part, the occasional patch of soil and stuff. So yeah, we just give them a little bit of supplementation to make sure they stay healthy, and yeah, the eggs turn out great.
Okay, we've got a second email in the inbox, and it reads, "Hey guys, just a short update on the mead I made a month ago. So far, it's turned out pretty awesome. I let it sit in the primary fermentation for about a month and just switched it to the secondary, taking out the dead yeast called Lees. I gave some a try to see where it was going, and I actually enjoyed it. A lot of people online say it wouldn't be until it's aged for a few months, but so far I disagree. I wish I tried more than a quarter cup. It's sitting at about 8.5% ABV, which is fairly low, but I wanted this to be a sweeter, which worked out great. I'll give it another month and then bottle it and start drinking. Can't wait. It says, keep up the great work, and it's signed off, Better Andrew.
Thanks.
So if it's the Better Andrew, yeah, I think if it's the Better Andrew I'm thinking of, I think beverages are his thing. Is that not the case, Andrew?
Yeah, I think he might like a beverage or two.
Yeah, no, I think his family's involved with beverages as well, so we'll won't get into too much of that. But
we appreciate the update. And then iTunes reviews. So we've got a couple of new written iTunes reviews. That's 2-star that I believe we talked about last episode. We do have a written write-up in regards to it now. It just says, for a prepper podcast, you'd think they'd be better prepared on the audio front. Your podcast challenge should be to ensure the listeners can actually pick up what you're putting down.
Fair enough.
That was probably directed at me.
Yes, admittedly, we have had, I think since episode, 53-ish or so, we've had a few audio glitches here and there, but we have certainly worked on them, and hopefully you are now able to pick up what we're putting down.
I'm even going to
maybe turn the volume up a touch.
I'm even going to work on my wonderful background and get rid of the Sterilite, and by next week we should have a green screen and some fancy images. So
That'll be fun.
And
we are actively trying to fix the audio. So
we've got 6 panelists here from 4 different time zones, 2 countries, both coasts. It's all done by internet, and most of us are rural, so unfortunately it's going to remain imperfect. We're not sitting all in a studio with pro grade equipment, and as a result, you're not listening to us drone on about products that people are paying us to review. So you got to take the good with the bad in this case.
if you would like to donate so we can have that pro-grade equipment, email me, feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. We will happily take your money.
Absolutely.
We had another written review here. It says, just started listening and I'm enjoying the podcast a lot. I would love to hear a podcast about trapping as a possible food source during a crisis or just as a hobby. Keep up the good work. And we got 5 stars on that one.
I'd like to listen to that one too, because I know nothing about it.
That's what I
know nothing about that. So
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're a subject matter expert on trapping, we'd love to have you on the show.
Actually, it's kind of funny. One of my dad's old work buddies from his, he used to be a police officer back in the day. I think one of his coworkers there retired, became a full-time trapper at like age 60 and started over again. But I don't think he's with us anymore. But that would have been an interesting guy to have on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll add it to the list of topics for the show and see if we can find someone that knows a thing or two about it and see if we can get them on.
If you're a trapper, contact us.
Yeah. Feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. Then, as far as iTunes reviews go, we are up to 44 5-stars. We got 4 4-stars, 2 3-stars, that 1 2-star that we now have a written review for, and still that one little guy at 1 star, keeping us honest.
That's good news. I'll take it.
Yeah, hey, you know what? We've got all the bases covered now. So
Yep,
good.
that's all of them. We've got the full spectrum.
Yep, I like it. All right, and with that, I'll bring episode number 57 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast to an end. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Please help us out. Take a few minutes, submit a review. It helps other people find us. You can also find us at prepperpodcast.ca and on Facebook.
We do record these shows live on Facebook and YouTube. If you want an early peek at the shows, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Canadian Prepper Podcast, and click the notifications tab. That gives you alerts when we are going live. We can also be found on our Facebook page, Canadian Prepper Podcast. You can find me directly on Instagram at PPSWO.
And for myself, I can be reached at Hugues@prepperpodcast.ca or hfxprepper@gmail.com. And I also have my own YouTube channel. Just search HFX Prepper.
And if you've got any questions or advice for me, you can email into me at tyler@prepperpodcast.ca.
I'd love your hate mail. You can send that to me at feedback@canadianpatriotpodcast.com. You can tell me about how I'm wrong or not. But if you have listened to the things that I've said, you should get a discount when you buy stuff from me. Use the discount code Patriot at RagnarokTactical.ca when you check out, and you'll save yourself some money.
All right. You're also the host of another podcast, I believe.
That's right. If you want to send your hate mail about the OG CPP, we're Monday nights on YouTube, 9 p.m. Eastern. Anywhere that fine podcasts are sold, we regularly complain about the government, taxation, waste, and general abuse that we suffer as Canadians.
All right, you can reach Ian directly by emailing me at theislandretreat@gmail.com, and you can also find me on Canadian Patriot Podcast, tagging along with Andrew, also available on iTunes and YouTube.
Hey, please check out Rapid Survival at rapidsurvival.com. You can get me there on the live chat while you're buying some prepper gear. You can also email me at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. And thanks for joining us. You can tune in for the next episode. We're going to be discussing night vision and thermal optics. So until next time, be prepared, stay safe,
and keep learning.